Alright, so today we're going to be finishing off the Above series because we're going as high as we possibly can go, and that is above disaster level God, or above God. And yeah, I'm aware of how absurd this is, but come on, at the same time, it's pretty interesting, and it's something fun to talk about, but I also said that I was going to talk about it, so we got to do it. Now, this video is going to be different than the other Above videos I've done, because before we were looking at the nuanced levels in between the already established disaster levels, but in this one, we're just going to go as high as we possibly can go, which is above the already highest established level of disaster level God. Now, I've already made an entire video dedicated to disaster level God, but I just want to clarify some things in this video because I know that there's going to be a lot of new viewers watching this, probably like a lot of people who just aren't aware of how that specific level works, or just casual fans in general, and also just the confused people who have seen other YouTubers like with their juicy clickbait where they'll say like all of the disaster level God monsters or whoever in One Punch Man, or these guys are disaster level God, or this guy's God. But no, there are no disaster level God monsters or characters in One Punch Man yet. None have been confirmed to have this level. It's honestly rarely talked about at all in the series so far. But with that being said, I'm going to have to use a starting point, because if we're going to go above God, we have to establish what God basically looks like at first. If you follow the channel, you know that I just give Saitama disaster level Saitama because he's pretty much in a league of his own. But also, he is above God in himself, and I'll go more into that once we get further into the video. But the main reference point that I want to use in this video is Meteoric Burst Boros, because in my opinion, he's the closest to disaster level God that we have seen so far in the series. Now let us also go into the surface level definition for disaster level God, and that is a threat to humanity. Now, Boros, given that his Collapsing Star Roaring Cannon is confirmed to be able to destroy the Earth, means that he is technically fulfilling the requirements to become a disaster level God. But there is more to a disaster level than just what is said on the surface to it. And also, the creator of One Punch Man 1 never really gave Boros disaster level God. He just said that he was greater to or equal than Dragon, aka above Dragon. Now, there's a lot of reasons why he said this. First of all, he's probably just waiting to officially designate God level later on in the series and just didn't want to straight up give it to Boros in the beginning. But also, he's just not good enough. He's not strong enough to reach what disaster level God is. And yes, he can destroy a planet, but that's like his end-all be-all move. That is the apex of his power. And I assume that when we're going into God territory, we're going to be looking at guys that don't need to push to their absolute limit to be able to bust a planet. So when we're going into above God, we're going to have to be looking at characters that just can casually bust planets, which honestly isn't really common in battle manga. Believe it or not, this isn't something that we really see too much. So that means I'm going to have to go outside of the One Punch Man universe, barring Saitama, of course, and we're going into Dragon Ball territory. And yes, you knew I was going to do this because you saw the enticing thumbnail that I made, and I also know that this is going to create an absolute war zone in the comments. So tread carefully if you are going to leave a comment on this video. I certainly hope you do, because, you know, it helps the algorithm and everything. But man, just be careful down there. But now let's go into the nuance of disaster levels and what they really mean outside of just the surface of what they are a threat to. So they're an aggregate measurement of danger, taking into consideration the monster's damage capabilities, aggressiveness, difficulty of extermination, and then whatever else. So I guess that means that Boros' Meteoric Burst form is just not quite cutting it in these metrics to be a definitive disaster level God. Now that means that we're going to be looking at someone who is just excelling in all of these, like way more so than what Meteoric Burst Boros is. So let's also use an already confirmed or almost confirmed scale that we already have between already set disaster level guy and an above disaster level guy. But let's stick with Boros because we're already talking about him. So for dragon level, we'll just put Bakuzan there because he's like a low dragon, consensus more or less. And, you know, he's like the poster boy for that stuff. So if we go into above dragon, we'll go to released Boros because he's definitely above dragon, like pretty much the poster boy for that as well. So we're seeing the huge discrepancy in between these two's power. So we're going to have to do the same thing for what could be a low god in what I consider Meteoric Burst Boros. And then we're going to go to above god, and I've chosen Beerus for this candidate. So I know that I could have picked other people, but I like Beerus, and he's, pretty accessible. He's pretty popular, so people are going to be more familiar with him. And he's coming from a very popular, accessible series like Dragon Ball Super, so why not? And also, let's go back into what I was talking about with Saitama being above God. So, I'm not going to be comparing Saitama to Beerus in this video, and I know other YouTubers have and whatnot, and it's really arbitrary, honestly, because we don't know the full power of Saitama, and we don't know the full power of Beerus. So, if you want to throw all these equations out there and comparing feats to feats and all of this stuff, it's arbitrary AF, so I'm not going to do it, and it doesn't really matter, honestly. But anyway, let's go back to Meteoric Burst Boros, who, for just the sake of this video, we'll say is a low god. So, if we also go back to the metrics that we were talking about with disaster levels, the consideration of the monster's damage, capabilities, aggressiveness, difficulty of extermination, everything, it's just basically who he is as a being. And we saw that he's ultra fast, ultra strong, and just from a physical and an energy standpoint as well, at least for the One Punch Man universe, which we'll stay in for now. But we also said that the apex of his power is the Collapsing Star Roaring Cannon, which is a confirmed Earth Buster. I mean, if you want to say Planet Buster too, it's fine, whatever. I'm not going to go into if you think it could destroy something else, because I don't care about that. But we saw that Saitama just punched it away with one serious punch, and it's pretty much like the force of it, like, knocked it away. And also, if we're comparing like the perceived output of what the Collapsing Star Roaring Cannon is and the serious punch, you can see it on the Earth. You see like the little indent, I say loosely, that the cannon is making, and then you see what the punch does. So this is like a good measurement of what above God kind of looks like, especially if it's just one serious punch. And also, if Boros is a low god, it's difficult to say like what's mid, what's high, and I just assume that we're going to see like what a high god is at the end of the series, probably, and Saitama will very likely defeat that being, therefore he's above God. Also, just considering like, if he really wanted to, he could easily wipe away the Earth if he was like really trying. I mean, just look what the force of one of his serious punches did to the atmosphere and the clouds. He split half of the friggin' planet. So, yeah, I mean, Saitama's above God, and I just wanted to put that out there. But I added Beerus to this video just so we can see what an above God being would look like, rather than just saying Saitama is above God because this and what the potential of his power is. As we're with Beerus, we could just straight up see what this unfair, unattainable level of power looks like, because we already thought that with Meteoric Burst Boros, but like when you're comparing it to Beerus, it's just basically like comparing Meteoric Burst Boros or Released Boros to like Bakuzan. I mean, it's probably even more so than that, but I feel that just Beerus overall we're talking about here. Because sometimes Beerus looks like he's Marvel cosmic level in power, and then sometimes he's kind of like rivaling Autonomous Ultra Instinct. I'm not going to go into like the inconsistencies in Dragon Ball because it doesn't really matter. Every series has inconsistencies and whatnot, but just overall Beerus is an easy planet buster. And yeah, even in the series itself, it says that, you know, he could allegedly destroy the universe, like in his fight with God Goku, in his fight with Champa. Now, does that mean that like he can wipe away the universe with just one shot? Probably not. I mean, if you want to think that, go ahead. But it just means overall he can probably destroy the friggin' universe if he really wanted to. But yeah, that's mainly just what I wanted to talk about in this video, which is absurd, like I established, but it's just something that, you know, fun to talk about, and hopefully we can be civil about it. I really tried to make this video as least offensive and incendiary as I possibly could, but man, it's super difficult when you're getting into this type of territory and when you're talking about cross-series stuff, especially when you're talking about ultra-powerful stuff. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you give it a like. I also have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.